Hey, thanks for checking out my video. Today we're making peanut butter cheesecake brownies. And normally I make my brownies homemade from scratch. I have a video up for those if you ever want to check it out. But for these brownies, I've always just used a box mix. They come out great, and they are just what they sound like. They're brownies with peanut butter cheesecake swirled throughout the top. Super good. Every time I take them places, people always ask me for the recipe. So let's get started. I went ahead and made the brownie mix as according to the directions, and put it in the pan here because I figured you don't need to see me do that. Everybody knows how to make a box brownie mix and put it into a pan. I did put some parchment in there, like a sling, so that when they're done I'll be able to pull them out real easy and slice them nice when they come out. So you can either use a 9x13 pan, or this one is about a 9.5 by a 9.5 pan. It's kind of an odd pan that I have, but you get a thicker brownie out of that. So I'm going to go with that, but if you like a thinner brownie, definitely use a 9x13. So that's all ready. Regular brownies, just normal. Now we're going to make the peanut butter cheesecake filling. I've got 6 ounces of cream cheese, a half a cup of peanut butter, and a 1/4 cup of sugar, an egg, and 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm using whole milk, but you could use 2% if that's what you had. And then we're just going to mix this up with a mixer. Okay, so the cheesecake batter's ready. I've got my brownie mix here, and you can either just use, a spoon and lay plops of this on top, or I like to use a cookie scoop because then I feel like everything's uniform, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can do it whatever way you like. I'm just gonna do like 4 in a row on each side. Another thing about using a slightly smaller pan is that you get more cheesecake per brownie because it's not stretched out so far on a big pan. So it works out to be just about perfect. Get about 16 little scoops of cheesecake filling here. I might be slightly short, but it's gonna all get swirled around anyway, so. Yep, I came out one little blob short, but that's perfectly fine. So now I'm just going to use a butter knife that I used to cut my cream cheese, and I can't remember if I mentioned it is 6 ounces of cream cheese. It's not an entire block, it's 3/4 of a block. So now, see, I've got all these blobs in here. I'm just gonna go through it and mix it up so that some of the cheesecake gets down into the brownie mix. Some people, I've seen a lot of different marble type brownies, and some of them it's like they just want to keep it all on the top, but I kind of like to get it so that it's mixed down into the batter so that the cheesecake runs all the way through the brownie and not just sitting on top. So that just means a little extra swirling. And sometimes you got to work a little bit to get the cheesecake into the corners, because they all tend to want to, once you start swirling it, they all want to go to the inside, and then you end up with nothing in the corners. So I'm going to work a little bit here to get some for sure in the corners. Okay, see if you can see that. And I'm going to put this in the oven. The recipe has, I've been making these for years, and I've made them in different size pans before. Sometimes I make a double batch of them, but the recipe says between 40 and 45 minutes. So I'm guessing that in a 9x13, 40 minutes would be more appropriate, because it's spread out more and they cook faster, and more like 45 minutes for this since they're thicker. But I'll check them after 40. And then after they cool a little bit, we'll pull them out and cut them up. Okay, so the brownies are done. I let them cool for about an hour, and since I used this sling with the parchment paper, it's real easy to pull out. The only secret is, right when they come out of the oven, you gotta kind of take a spatula around the edge to loosen it up, so that when you pull that sling out, there's nothing that it's catching on. So we're going to cut these, and how I always like to do it is, unless I have some specific size they have to be, I'll usually cut in half, and then I'll look at each half and say, well, do I want to cut that in half again, or do I want to cut that in thirds? And I've decided I want to cut those in half again. So then everything ends up being about the same size. Whereas if you just start on one end and start cutting, you know, if you're like me, I would always end up with a fat one on one end and a skinny one on the other end. So if you start in the half, you know, cut in half, then half, then half, it works out good. And then you do the exact same thing when you turn it the other way. And by the way, I sprayed my knife with cooking spray, and that makes it go through the brownie a whole lot easier without sticking so much. So I'm cutting it in half again. So this means I'm gonna get 16 brownies out of this, and there's 16 nice fat brownies. And since me and my husband won't be able to eat 16 brownies real quick, and I don't like wasting food, what I always do, if you've watched any of my other videos, you see that I do this with a lot of desserts, is I take a piece of plastic wrap, and I'll take these one at a time. I take a brownie, and then I just wrap it up. I throw these in the freezer, and then when we want a nice, fresh, warm brownie, you pull this out of the freezer and you put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, and you have a nice, fresh, warm brownie. Whereas if I just left these sitting in the pan on the countertop, by tomorrow they'd start being dried out, and then by the day after that, I'd be ready to throw them away, even if there was half a pan left, because to me they'd be gross and dry and old. If I do them this way, you know, I'm packaging up when they're nice and fresh, freeze them, and then microwave them. They come out perfect. But I'll keep a couple out for us to eat, like tonight or tomorrow, and then I'll have the rest in the freezer, and nothing goes to waste. So that's a good tip I can give you, and it's a way that I save money and I don't waste so much food. I definitely over the years wasted a lot of food throwing stuff away that got dried out and just from sitting around in the pan. So I don't do that anymore. I try to save money, save food whenever I can. So I hope you liked the video. I've got several others. It's Rhonda's Thrifty Kitchen, and thanks for checking out my video today. I hope to see you again soon. And do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It helps me to be able to make more videos. Thanks a lot. Bye.